Welcome to the session on arranging fractions in order of size. Today we will learn how to compare fractions and arrange them from the smallest to the largest or from the largest to the smallest. We shall use the lowest common multiple or LCM to make comparing fractions much easier by finding a common denominator and then arranging fractions in order of size. Comparing fractions with the same denominator are easy to compare. The denominator tells us the size of the pieces. Since all the pieces are the same size, we simply compare the numerators. The larger the numerator is, the larger the fraction. Let's take a look at an example. Here we've got 1 out of 8, 3 out of 8, 5 out of 8, and 7 out of 8. Notice that the number at the bottom, or the denominator, is the same for all these fractions. So we can arrange them from smallest to largest very easily. 1 over 8 is less than 3 over 8, is less than 5 over 8, is less than 7 over 8. Now let's compare fractions with the same numerator, or the number on the top. Let's take a look at this example. Here, all the numerators are the same. When the numerator stays the same, the fraction with the smaller denominator is actually larger. This is because fewer equal parts means each part is bigger. And therefore, if we're arranging largest to smallest, 1 over 2 is greater than 1 over 3 is greater than 1 over 5, which is greater than 1 over 8. Let's now read fractions. Here we have 1/2 or 1 over 2, 1/3 or 1 over 3, 1/4 or 1 over 4, 2/5 or 2 over 5, and 3/4 or 3 over 4. Can we put these in order of size? It might not be immediately obvious. How about if we add illustrations? So let's do that. Here's 1 out of 2 or 1/2. Here's 1/3. Here's 1/4. Here's 2/5. And finally, here's 3/4. Now that we have illustrations, it'll become much easier to put in order of size. So here's the first, right at the bottom, it's 3/4. Here's the second, it's 1/2. Here's the third, it's 2/5. Here's the fourth, it's 1/3. And finally, here's the fifth, 1/4. Can we figure out the order of these sizes without the illustrations? Let's compare 1 over 2 and 2 over 3. Can we compare them directly? Just looking at them, it's probably not immediately obvious. We first need a common denominator. Let's go back to the pictures. Here's 1 over 2, or 1/2 as a picture, and here's 1 over 3, or 1/3 as a picture. Let's split these into sixths. So 6 pieces for each of these. Now, 1/2 can also be called 3 over 6, and 1/3 can be called 2 over 6. Now that we have a common denominator, it's much easier to put in order of size. And we can see now which is bigger immediately. Clearly, 3 is greater than 2, and therefore 3 over 6 is greater than 2 over 6. How can we compare 1 over 2 and 2 over 3 without the pictures? And also, how do we know to divide into 6 pieces as we did in the previous picture? So in order to compare 1 over 2 and 2 over 3, we need to express both these fractions as fractions with the same denominator. The denominators for both these fractions are 2 and 3. These are the numbers at the bottom of the fractions. And the lowest common multiple of 2 and 3 is 6. So now we can convert 1 over 2 and 2 over 3 into fractions with the denominator of 6. We do that for 1 over 2 by multiplying top and bottom by 3, as shown, to give us 3 over 6. And we do that for 2 over 3 by multiplying top and bottom by 2, as shown, to give us 4 over 6. Now we can compare both these fractions. And we have, since obviously 3 over 6 is less than 4 over 6, we now know that a half is less than 2/3. Now let's take a look at another worked example. Arrange the fractions on your screen from smallest to largest. Notice that the denominators are different, so we need to find the lowest common multiple of these 3 different denominators. The lowest common multiple of 4, 3 and 6 is 12, and therefore we need to express each of these fractions out of 12. In order to convert 3 over 4 into something over 12, we need to multiply top and bottom by 3. And so we have 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 times 4 is 12. So 3 over 4 is 9 over 12. Similarly, in order to convert 2 over 3 into something over 12, we need to multiply top and bottom by 4 to give us 8 over 12. And finally, similarly for 5 over 6, multiply top and bottom by 2 to give us 10 over 12. Now we have 3 fractions expressed out of 12. And since the denominators are the same, we can now compare the fractions directly. So clearly 8 over 12 is less than 9 over 12 is less than 10 over 12. And therefore 2 over 3 is less than 3 over 4 is less than 5 over 6. A number line helps us check our answers. Fractions further to the right are always larger. This is a good way to see whether our ordering is correct. So let's display these fractions on the number line. In order to place a half on the number line, split the number line from 0 to 1 into 2 parts, and 1/2 is 1 part out of 2. So 1/2 is here. In order to place 2 over 3, split the line into 3 parts, and then place 2 over 3 2 parts along. So 2 over 3 is here. For 3 over 4, split the line into 4 parts and position 3 over 4, 3 of these parts along, here. And finally for 5 over 6, split the line into 6 parts and place 5 over 6, 5 parts along, here. Now have a go at this exercise. Press play when you're ready to view the solution. Solution is coming up shortly. And now have a go at this exercise. Solution is coming up shortly. And now have a go at this exercise. Solution is coming up shortly. Have a go at this exercise. Solution is coming up shortly. Now have a go at this exercise. Solution is coming up shortly. Before moving on to the next lesson, do a quick check and see if you can arrange these sets of fractions from smallest to largest. Solutions are coming up shortly. So let's summarize what we've done today. Fractions with the same denominator are compared using the numerators. Fractions with the same numerator are compared using the denominators. Different denominators should be changed to a common denominator in order to compare fractions. The lowest common multiple helps us find the smallest common denominator, and a number line can be used to check the order. This brings us to the end of this session. Do attempt the exercises in your textbook related to this topic. Thank you very much for listening.